Hello everybody, I am Mike from the Rewatch Project Podcast, and I am a lifelong Bruce Springsteen fan, listening to for the first time and reacting to the songs from the Streets of Philadelphia session from the Lost Albums Tracks 2 set. I'm working my way through the entire collection, so it's a wonderful opportunity for me to react to Bruce Springsteen. I only like doing first-time reactions generally when it comes to music, so it's rare that I get an opportunity to do it, but I have a real feast of choice here. So yes, I've been very much enjoying the Streets of Philadelphia, this kind of dark relationships album, or the Farewell Party, I believe I've come to learn is what the album was originally going to be called if it had been released in 1994, but it was not. It has now been released here in 2025, and it is my duty, my privilege, and my honor to be working through it. Before I do that, though, a quick reminder that I do pause these songs, I do talk over them. That's just how I choose to react. I would strongly urge you, however, to listen to this song in its entirety if you have not before, and that you do not follow my terrible example. Also, a reminder to check out the Rewatch Project of Hannah and Mike, the podcast that shares this feed, where my wife and I go back and rewatch some of our favorite film and television franchises, in addition to the other film, TV, music, and general pop culture related goodness that also cohabits with this here channel. Also, likes and subscribes, very much appreciated. The more subscriptions we get, the more people find the channel, the greater the discourse that occurs, and that is the primary motivator for doing these with a greater level of frequency. And last but not least, we very much appreciate donations via PayPal, but please, of course, only do so if you can without causing yourself any financial hardship. Details on how to do that are right below here. Right, I'm going to shut up, listen to We Fell Down from Tracks 2 collection, namely the Streets of Philadelphia session. So yeah, I've been loving this so far. Let's see what this one's got for us. Here we go.
Dream everything had come undone. I sat in the kitchen and listened, the refrigerator hum. 3 a.m. had come and gone. You walked in and I knew by that dress you had on that we fell down. We fell down. I should have known when I asked where you've been. Heard you lie. And we fell down. We fell down. That was just your way of saying goodbye.
Wow. Okay, so sonically first, we've still got this, I believe these are loops, and the synths, which are defining elements of a lot of this album. I guess that's what makes them the Streets of Philadelphia sessions. And also we've got this theme of mistrust and I guess what we'd call in 2025 toxic relationships. It seems that this song's about at least a suspicion of unfaithfulness on the part of the protagonist's partner, and that this is her way of breaking up with him, is by sort of acting out. And it's interesting because the way that Bruce uses synthesizers on this album, which I love, I think that's actually aged really well, because we've seen a lot of artists like Jack Antonoff, Bleachers, really emulating, if you listen to Roller Coaster by Bleachers, that very much evokes the synth sound Bruce was using around this time. And on Tunnel of Love as well, that a lot of people, there was a period of time where people talked about how dated that sounds, but it does seem like that's kind of come back round again now. But here, it almost gives the song an ascendant quality as opposed to a somber minor chord quality, which a lot of the other synth-heavy songs on this album have done. And you've also got a backing vocal that's very ethereal as well. So there's this really interesting kind of dichotomy going on between what the lyrics are telling us, but also the vocal delivery feels very sardonic. It's almost like, I knew it, told you so. It's that feeling when we're hurt of the savage inevitability of it, and I think Bruce, being a wonderful natural communicator, is getting that across in many ways. But it is curious how kind of pretty sounding the song as well is. It's kind of catchy. Like when he says that's your way of saying goodbye, there's a satisfying chordal payoff to that melody. It's a nice piece of pop writing as well, which is that's a lot. That's a lot for 1 minute. Let's carry on.
We got a book with pretty pictures all in a row. There's only one missing baby that I know. Yeah, it's the one of you and I, the one where we're looking each other in the eye. Yeah, we fell down, we fell down. You said things get lost no matter how hard you try.
Wow, that's very fatalistic.
Yeah, we fell down, we fell down. Well, it was just, yeah, we'll sing goodbye.
It's a beautiful, pretty pop melody. And it's interesting as well in the lyrics, it talks about this book of photos, you know, of pictures. And the one that's missing is of them looking each other in the eye. And this sort of speaks to the feeling elements of relationship, you know, eye-to-eye contact. That's about directness. It's about connection. It's about honesty. It's about exchange. And the fact that that's absent really says a lot about what this song is saying. But again, I'm really taken by the melody of this. You know, I've said before, you know, we all talk about what a great communicator and songwriter and storyteller and sort of almost visual artist Springsteen can be with songwriting. But, you know, that guy knows how to write a pop song as well. I really think this album would have done real well if it had been released in 1994. Saying that with hindsight, but yeah, this is such good stuff. This is you know, the way this is going, I feel like this would have been his best album of the 90s if he'd have put it out.
I woke in the morning, cold and gasping for air. Everything seemed broken, broken beyond repair. Party ribbons and balloons falling to the floor, along with the beautiful costumes we wore.
Vocalless chorus there. Bruce does that a lot in his later stuff. It forces you to fill in the lyrics in your own mind. Makes you a participant in the song. See, very ascendant, ethereal sounding stuff.
I get up in the morning and get dressed for work.
Oh, music's dropped out.
I comb my hair and button my shirt. And I walk home neath the sky hard and blue. Well, these are the things that I gotta do since we
Yeah, just life goes on, eh?
We fell down. I asked you if you loved me. You said, course you didn't sigh. Yeah, we fell down.
Wow.
We fell
The complexity of adult relationships, eh?
That was just your little way of saying goodbye. Yeah, we fell down.
Wow, another great song. And it's interesting as well because, you know, with relationships, adult relationships, you know, they never finish at the right time, do they? They always finish like a year after the right time because you want to be sure, you know, if you've invested a lot in a relationship. But you know, you just know, even if you're not the person who makes the call, you know. And that song's kind of about this, but I also like the idea of how Bruce uses the mundanity of everyday life. He does this, the kind of kitchen sink element to it, just to sort of denote how life goes on. Of course I do. She laughed and sighed. I think the lyric is when he asks her if she loved him. And it's like, you don't just stop loving somebody, but your feelings change. And there's a resignation and there's a complexity that goes beyond the binary view of love and romance that the pop song presents, you know. And I think that's one of the great things that Bruce did in the late 80s and the 90s. Particularly now we're seeing this material how much he was doing that in the 90s, unbeknownst to us, is being able to bring that complexity to those songs and do it in a way that's really sonically interesting as well. I love the sound of this album. And I've got the whole, obviously, the whole of the tracks to set, but I am treating them as new albums. I'm living with this album. I'm only going to listen to. I'm working my way through the Streets of Philadelphia sessions, and I'm just going to listen to that for a while until I feel like I really know that album and I've lived with it, and then I'll move on to the next one. Because, like I say, I don't want to give myself Bruce indigestion. I want to really savor this stuff. So hit that bell so you know when the next stuff is coming out in this series. And also do check out the other stuff on this channel, the other music reactions that I do, and the other film, music in general, pop culture related stuff. And as is always the case, and also donations via PayPal, very much appreciated, but only if you can afford to do so without causing yourself any financial hardship. So, yep, see you out on the comments page, Bruce fans. Bye-bye.